you are now officially being recorded. Now, Moema, we talked about before doing the lecture, the topic of the day, that you were going to maybe respond to some of the what have been this last week frequently asked questions that you're getting from the mmc@ahec.org email. Do you have some that you'd like to maybe answer for the group?
I think I was looking at it, and since a lot is related to videos and uploading and things like that, I thought that that could be included when we're talking about editing, exporting, and uploading it okay. On the next topic, because then I'm gonna touch on those anyway. So I thought that, because most was related to that I found. But if there's any other questions right now that anybody has from what we've been looking at, please let us know and we can address it right now. I think at the beginning is always a good time to see if anything came up from the other workshops that we had and suggestions and everything. So if anybody has any comments or suggestions or questions that you want to make. If not.
And if not, yeah, I guess if not, we'll just move into the lecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. So nobody has any thoughts or comments or questions or anything that might have come up from last meeting or the last workshop or the one before that?
Oh, okay, we have something about Twine. Angelina tried to start but cannot move forward. Okay, we don't have Yuta. Do we have Yuta today here?
No, she had a conflict. She couldn't make it.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, Angelina, and get back to you once we can address that. Oh yes, for sure. YouTube, there will be some tutorials, and I think we added some I think Yuta added some tutorials to the wiki as well. I will double check, and I will let you know. I'm reading your yeah, you're welcome. And before I start, David, I just want to ask you a question quickly. I am doing my presentation on VideoAnt, and we mentioned about introducing it today. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it first, because I did it all on VideoAnt.
I certainly could if you'd like to.
I'm sorry?
Sure, I certainly can.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, yeah, if you want, because it's really cool.
Oh, thanks. Do you want me to do that right now?
Sure, because my presentation is all in it, so it can be a, if you're comfortable with it, yeah, that would be great.
Sounds good. Do we want to use that as the demonstration, and I can just talk about what it is?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, so should I can also just do the presentation and then you talk about how it can be used, yeah? Okay.
Anyway.
All right, I will share my screen. Let me see, hold on. Okay, so I'm gonna be using this platform called VideoAnt to talk a little bit about how to some tips of how to record videos in a easier way. So for that, I found actually a very cool, simple, interactive video. And what I think is great about this platform that David introduced to us is that what is hard, I feel sometimes, to use other people's videos is that a lot of times they are great, but they're missing something that you want to add because it's not specific about what you're teaching, or your students have different questions, or each person teaches in a different way. So it's hard. You want to do your own class in your own way, of course. So I think sometimes it's hard to find the video that represents exactly what you want to teach. And what I think is really cool about this tool is that you can go and comment on the video. So I decided to use it with a video so we can then use the tool and the video to make it happen. So I'm going to share my screen and go over it. Okay, let's see. Okay. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Oops. So I need to take my headphones off.
Moima, do you want me to just say a few words about what it is? And
Yes.
yeah, so VideoAnt is something that we created here at the University of Minnesota about a dozen years or so ago. And the purpose of it was to create conversations around videos. It's been used for many other things as well, but you know, we wanted instruction to be a little bit more active than only asking students to watch videos, which has its own value, but we wanted them to have discussions around the video, about the video. And the best way we figured to do that was to have the discussion on the timeline. So what video, as Moima pointed out, it allows you to annotate the video and make comments on it, like at a certain point in the video, like at 2 minutes and 13 seconds. And so it's been really useful for getting discussions going in class about videos that you might want your students to watch, or about, we've had instructors use it to, that teach some sort of, maybe some sort of performance. Maybe it's speech, maybe it's a physical performance, a dance or something. And then people and then they'll ask for like peer comments, or even the students' comments, and they'll have like a whole discussion around what happened and what worked and what didn't work and so on. So, and it's free to use. Anybody can log into it if you have a Google account or Facebook account. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah, and that's another thing that I wanted to show, how easy it is to just get in. And another thing that is awesome is like your student they don't need to be logged in to read your comments. So if you like, I'm getting into another browser just to show, because in this one I'm not logged in, so I just copy and paste, and then here you can still see all my comments even though I'm not logged in. But to log in too is very simple. You just to sign up, you just go here, and for example, and if you have a Gmail email, or like David said, Facebook or Twitter, it took me 1 minute. It was really, really fast. So I'm gonna start here this video. Let me know if you can hear well, please.
Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial. Matthew Mann here, video producer for University Communications, with just a few tips.
Okay, so this was the first note I made. I'm trying just to go back at the beginning just so you can see. So for your introductions videos, like here, what I say is that he doesn't mention when you're preparing what you're gonna say for your own video. In this case, he doesn't mention which university he is from, but we see that right at this second here, we can see the logo. So this means it was edited. So if you're trying to make a very short video for very brief topic, make sure that in your introduction, you add from where you're from, or like, or all the details that you want to be in your video right there, so it's not, so you don't need to add a logo, for example, like he did. And in some of my videos that I've done before, like I had somebody wearing a t-shirt of the college, or had like a little cup or something that says, or they just say, I am so-and-so from the college, so-and-so, just to make sure if you're avoiding any kind of editing, if it's just fast, just make sure to, in your introduction, to put all the information you would need in any case.
Producer for University Communications with just a few tips on how to record yourself on video so that you look and sound your best, whether you're recording on a mobile device, laptop or desktop computer, or any type of camera. So the first thing that you want to consider is the space that you're recording in. Make sure that you choose a space that's quiet, that's free from distraction, and look at the background to make sure that there's nothing cluttered or busy happening directly behind you that might distract your audience from the message that you're trying to deliver.
Okay, so yeah, about locations and distractions, I wrote here that this is a great point about locations, that it is important that the space is not distracting for the audience. And personally, I also find that it's very important that it's free of distractions for the person recording as well, because you were going to put a lot of time preparing.
This is Douglas, Trillion Natural Resources.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
Okay.
So it can be, if you're getting interrupted while you're doing your video, especially if you're avoiding to have to edit it a lot, it can be frustrating and discouraging. So I say, while some people are very camera ready, for most people it requires a lot of preparation, focus and practice. So having to stop and start, it can be a deal breaker. So find a place where you feel comfortable in all the ways. And I think it's interesting that he's saying that, and I don't think this is as distracting for an audience at all. I just as soon as I started seeing this video, I was like, oh, this is such a great fireplace, and look at that. I don't know, I think it looks like a clock. Still, it didn't take me out of seeing what he was saying, but I just thought it was a very interesting location. Anyway,
The next thing that you want to consider is the lighting in the space. So the space I'm recording in right now, there's a nice wall of windows. It's giving me a nice, even, natural light, and it's going to give a good look without a lot of setup involved. You may not have a space like this where you're recording. You may not have a lot of windows, but even one good sized window or a couple windows on either side of you, just going to give you that nice, even lighting. Another thing to mention about the use of natural light is you want to make sure that you are facing the windows and not with the windows behind you, because then you are going to be very underexposed and backlit, and it's not going to look very good. If you don't have natural light, you can certainly use artificial lighting. Try to use sources that are at about eye level. So a desk lamp is fine, a table lamp. Try to avoid using overhead lighting like the recessed lighting that we often have in offices or in homes. As you can see, it's not a very flattering type of lighting. It creates a lot of heavy shadows, especially around the eyes. So it's best to look for an alternative.
Yeah, so about the light, again, I think he's making great points about it. But I would just add that always do some tests, because like here he's saying for you to not use the overhead lights. But I would always try it first if you are not using any sources of natural light, to always try to use all your sources of light at first, like including the overhead lights, not only the overhead lights, but including it, because depending on the camera you're using, and especially cell phone cameras, the the less the light you have, the more grainy it can look. So yeah, like try to put some lights in front of you and leave that on, because a lot of times the lights that are coming from front of you will make the shadows, those funny shadows he's mentioning, dissipate. So and your video will look sharper.
You want to try to choose a space that probably is a little on the smaller side. And the reason why I say that is because for the acoustics, if you use a larger room, you're going to have a lot more sound bouncing around at a further distance and then coming back, creating reverb and echo. When you think about when you walk into a large hall or a church, it's very echoey, and it's because of the sound bouncing around in that large space. So try to choose a smaller room. This room actually is a little larger than I might recommend, but the thing that's working in here for me for audio quality is there are a lot of soft surfaces. So the upholstered furniture, the carpeting on the floor, draperies or fabric blinds can help absorb some of that sound, give you nice clean audio, and that's going to allow your audience to focus on your message. And that brings me to my final tip, which has to do with camera placement. So you want to sit about 2 to 3 feet from your device. And just a good rule of thumb is if you can reach out and just about touch your device, that's about the right distance. And that's going to give you a good audio quality because you're sitting closer to the built-in microphone on your device, in this case, a mobile phone.
Yeah, so about recording sound, again, I think he's right on point with his tips. And another thing about smaller rooms that I think they're easier to assemble and to make it the way you want it to look like, and you can feel more like in control of it, the way it feels and everything. You can make it more comfortable for you. And before you start recording, please sit in silence for a second and try to listen to everything around you, because especially if it's a room that you're there for, like if you're very familiarized with, because we forget the sounds that are around us. And then when you record it, you're like, oh, I forgot about the sound. Like I got all these great videos from one faculty, and she didn't notice it, but I cannot, it's so present when you're editing. She had a wall clock, and you can hear the tick, 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 tick all the time. So try to be aware so that doesn't happen. And if you do have earbuds that have the mic like this, a great tip, even though if you're sitting at a distance, like he said, normally the microphone from the device will work great. This makes a big difference. So you can just like let it rest like this on your shoulder. You don't have to use the earbud, and you just plug on your device and just leave it there and record your video with that, and it will make a big difference in your video. Just make sure that it is the part that is the mic, it's up, just so it's not, if you move, it's not getting the sound of your shirt or something like that. And if you do that, please try first, just because to make sure the microphone is working properly. There was something else about sound. No, that's it for now. We're gonna, yes, one thing. I don't know if he's gonna do it again, and if he doesn't, I can go back, but just pay attention how the sound changes, just like from him sitting and doing like this, or when he's doing like the selfie thing, just because of the distance, it's so apparent, like how the sound is changing. And this is a very good video, so it's really good to be aware of how you're controlling and keeping the distance. If you're not using any other device to record sound, just try to always keep the same distance so the sound doesn't change so much.
And it's also going to give you about the right framing. So in terms of framing, you don't want to have too much headroom above your head. So you notice the way I have the shot set up. And the other really important thing is making sure to set up your device at eye level. So often we'll set up a laptop on a desk or on a table. It's shooting up at us from a low angle. It's not going to be a very flattering angle, and you're just going to end up with a lot of ceiling behind you as opposed to a nice looking backdrop. So in this case, all I've done is I've just set up a stack of books and I've propped up my phone. You can do the same thing with a laptop or any mobile device. And that's going to give a nice flattering angle, and it's going to be more comfortable for you to shoot and look directly into the camera. And that's another really important point, is making sure that you're looking into the camera throughout your recording. It's often tempting to look off camera at our screen, and you can see when I do that, it appears that I'm looking off camera to the audience that's watching. So the camera in this case is right on the left side of the screen because I have my phone set on its side. In the case of a tablet, it's going to be very similar. In the case of a desktop or laptop computer, it's usually in the center of the screen, above the screen. The last thing.
Yeah, so a few other things to consider about camera placement. If you're using a phone and it's an older version of a phone or an iPad or any other tablet, many times the front camera, the one that you see yourself, it's not as good. And like I say here, like me, I sometimes get too aware and I don't like looking as I'm recording. So I try to frame everything, prepare everything, and leave it turned away. So I'm not so aware of everything that is going on and pay attention, like getting distracted by all this stuff. So I just turn it and use the front camera. And if you decide to do that, I used a lot of things to try to focus. Like I used, like I say here, I used teddy bears, a stick with a figure glued on it, friends, and as you can see on the back here, I finally found a mannequin now that I can use for my framing and lighting and all these tests of focus too, just to make sure if I need to record that the focus is there. Because if you're doing the other way of the camera, you don't want to like get a surprise later on and see that it's everything out of focus. But again, I just got this because I found, because the store was closing, you don't need it. You can use anything that can be like of your height and a little bit the width of your face. You can make something up just to do it. And about equipment, I think it's great. Like you don't need it. Like he did, he just stacked a few books. You can use your table, you can use a chair. I've used everything you can imagine, like a chair on top of a table, like for different kind of shots. But if you can, eventually it's good to get like small things like this. This is just a tiny tripod that has this clamp that clamps on the phone, and then you can put it everywhere. You have more possibilities of places and framing and things like that. I also have this one that I can like attach to different surfaces and things. So if I'm looking for a different frame, I can just put on different places, other places. So, and they cost like around $7 to $10. I have a list I can add there later on. But again, this should not be anything to stop you. Like I saw this other video, this other teacher who does great videos, and he literally uses duct tape to tape his phone on the wall if he's doing it standing up and things like that. So there are many ways you can do it. I just think this is a good investment because it saves time setting up and gives you more possibilities. But again, yeah, there's many other ways without spending any money if you already have a phone or a computer to record or a camera.
Thing that I'll mention is you'll notice that I'm recording this video in the horizontal format, and I know that many of us are used to holding our phone in a vertical orientation, and it's often fine to record a video that way if you're uploading it to certain social platforms or mobile platforms, but it's not going to work for everything. And you can always crop a horizontal video to vertical if you absolutely need to later. But I would suggest to record your videos in horizontal format, and that way you can make that decision after the fact.
And this is a point that I joke here that I want to add one more thing. Please always record horizontally. And I insist, please always record horizontally. You have no idea how many times I still get videos from people who wants me to edit something, and they send me 3 that are horizontally and then 1 that is vertical, and it's so hard to then edit them together because they don't match. And if it's vertical, you try to zoom in to match the screen format of most of the streaming platforms, you lose a lot of the details. And if you don't want to lose the details, you're always going to have those bars on the side, and it's just not the best way of using it for recordings like this, unless you're doing it specifically for social media.
The most important thing is to just be comfortable with your message, to do your best to connect with your audience, and hopefully these tips have been helpful in doing that.
So yeah, when he talks about being comfortable, and I do think that this part, I say it's easier said than done. I say, right, there is a reason why I chose to be behind cameras. As you can see, if I have to talk in public, I always get nervous. It can be the camera or it can be a presentation. I'm not the best doing that. It's different if I had to play a character or something like that. It's different because then you're like in another world kind of, or with other people around. It's different. But if you're just with cameras, I personally find a little, it gets me nervous, and I just hear it from a lot of people who are like, I don't know how to do, or I get nervous. So I think that for me, what helps a lot is trying to have everything really well prepared, and trying to, after having all the technical aspects done, trying to do, like, have the, if you did your preparation with what we call the storyboard, but it doesn't necessarily need to be just the storyboard. If you have your bullet points, if you can go over it a few times, rehearse it a few times, like I say, maybe pretend that you're doing a talk, or as if you're teaching in person in a class. I think that helps a lot. And another thing that I found helpful to me is, like, to really try to visualize that the camera is just a friend, or as if I'm teaching a class, something like that, like to a student, directly to a student. And another tip that I was giving a long time ago, and it does help, is instead of, I know he said, look at the camera, but if you look at slightly up, if you find a point slightly up, you still can avoid being looking directly at the camera, and it doesn't, and you still are, it feels to the audience that you're still looking at the camera. But it just takes a little bit of the awareness of all of that there. Yeah, so, and I had people saying that they do some like cutouts, and they put funny things, or they put pictures of people or like tiny things on top of the camera just to really make them comfortable, which I think is great. And that works. Another thing that I think it's a good way to start too is, and I'm actually doing this today, is if you're doing a Zoom presentation, or if you're doing any other kind of talk, even if it's in class and it's okay to do it, just record yourself, just to, do it, so then afterwards you can watch it and see what's working and what is not working. And a lot of times you can, like in this case, recording the Zoom, right? If you're recording your Zoom presentation, your Zoom class, for example, and you're recording it outside, maybe with your mic on your phone, you can have better audio, and you can cut these two together and have a better video to show of this lesson later on. I know we haven't touched yet in how to put it together, or the next, which is going to be the next step. We're going to talk about good user-friendly editing softwares. And I'm just very aware now that I said all the time, so we need to cut that. I'm kidding. So let me see if there was any other thing. Oh, yes. We can go over to some lists of equipment and things like that, to what to do and what to buy if you're interested in buying anything or researching and things like that. The only thing I highly suggest, if you decide to go that route, is always read a few of the reviews, because especially the bad ones, because a lot of the times you only find out about things that doesn't work when you try something. Like everything looks perfect for that equipment, you see it's exactly what you want, but then you only find that it doesn't work for something when you try. So I find with equipment that reading the bad reviews, it's always great. Yeah. Oh, and another thing I was going to talk about, VideoAnt, that I think is great, is like you see here, I have all these notes that goes right from each on the timeline here. And if you want to put, and the students can comment and all of that, but you can also add, I don't know, questions and put an assignment for each moment. Or if the video is too long and you just want to, if I want to just talk about lighting, I could just mark here, like from here to here. You don't need to watch the whole video and things like that, that I think is really, really smart, really cool for if you're using somebody else's video. You don't need to, you can make it more focused for your class, more directed for your class. So I think that's really good too. Like, it's a really cool tool if you're using other people's videos. And even if you use yours when you upload yours online, if you don't need necessarily to show the whole video, or if you want to add some comments on your own video and for the students to watch later, I think it's really good.
Very good. That's great. Are you done then, Moima, with your presentation?
I'm done, yes, with the recording part. Yes, if anybody has any questions about it, please ask. And again, this is just about the part of recording. I know that then we would have to go over a lot of other things to cover then the editing part and the uploading part and all of that, which is a totally different thing. But yeah, if you have any questions about this process and everything, just let me know and we can go over it.
I have a question. When
Yes.
you were showing that that video there, it was like a bad Godzilla movie for me. The guy was talking, and then a couple minutes later, the voice would go, and then he was moving like a robot. Is that just my connection, or is it everybody else's?
It was fine for me.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the link.
I also know I'm on a hotspot.
It was fine for me.
I will
Okay.
do I actually can do this one right now. I will just put here on the chat, and then I will put on our wiki page as well. But it's right here if you on our chat, if anybody wants to go over it again and take a look.
Okay. Thank you.
And feel free to comment on anything too on the video. And
Is that going to be is Ant? I guess I'm wondering, can we have our own kind of a video Ant account for us to work with to annotate the videos that you all might want to recommend that other people use?
Anybody can have an account. So if you wanted to have one just for AHEC videos, or just any individual instructor could have their own account too.
Mm-hmm.
Or you want to just go to this, I put the URL in of just the Ant to log into.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to, say, have a library or create kind of a virtual library of instructional videos that have been annotated, say that might have native content or something that we might want to recommend or at least annotate. So we could create our account, and then within that account, we could have separate categories for history and math or whatever. Could we do something like that?
And so here's a look at my library. So you can do it's of just odd things. Don't judge me.
Boy, I had no idea.
And so just things that I usually for demonstration. So you can create a library like this. Right now they don't, you can't categorize them as you suggested, like math or social studies or things, but you can certainly just create a library if you like.
Yeah, very good. So that's very.
I just took
sorry,
a
go
phone
ahead,
call
Jen.
from a previous employer, so I missed part of it. But on storage, do we have to upload the video to Ant, or do we just share the link from YouTube, or how does that work?
you just shared the link from YouTube.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah.
only the annotation part is put on there.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, very cool.
And Moima, I also have a question. I know you're trying to keep everything basic, but for the sound part, what I've seen professional producers do is they clip a mic on you here, and then there's a cord that goes into a little recorder that's clipped on your back, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that especially comes to mind because you know, if anybody needs to record, let's say, a video for a class in our area, in Northern Plains, it's really windy if you have to go outside, you know, and you want to do any kind of field recording. I was wondering if you might have any suggestions for that.
I do. If you're, again, if you're, it will depend what you're using for your recording. If you are using your phone, again, you could, this will help a lot. I'm like, it sounds funny, but it does help. It would make a lot of difference if you're already using this. But they also do, and I don't have it here right now because I left it in Alaska, but they also do those ones for the cell phone. The ones that they clip here, that comes with that little foam around. That foam, it's so the wind doesn't go in. And I'm sorry?
It's a lapel mic.
Yes.
Our
But
band uses those, and they're pretty cheap. You can actually you could buy about maybe 8 to 12 at a time, and you could use them on your whoever's doing the talking. That's what a few of my band members use.
Yeah, and they go direct. They are the ones that are wireless or go direct to the phone?
We actually use both. The wireless, we run down to a little packet that we put on our belt, or you can set it beside you, and then it's wireless to our soundboards.
Yeah. So to make it simpler, I would suggest the ones that go direct to the phone, because the wireless that I found, they're not as cheap, and these other ones work just as fine. And if you're doing your own videos, you can find ones with the longer cord that goes direct to the phone, records direct on your device. So again, they're very good. They don't cost much, and I can also add that too. Let me make a note so I can add that to our equipment list.
You can take a lapel, the wireless that comes off of that. It has a little tiny receiver to it. You can plug that into your phone or whatever you want.
Yeah, and if you get the adapter, nowadays they make adapters. If for example mine is like this, but there are adapters that go from, if your lapel is that audio jack, they make adapters that go from that to this, so you can use two. Again, that would be just, then we're looking into getting equipment and all of that. So if you, there are other ways then, if you want to record outside because you want to show something, and another way to avoid having to spend money buying a mic because of the wind would be, you can go and show the thing and then come back and record a voiceover inside. So you'd show it with a voiceover and you mute the sound from outside, just so you don't have to buy unless of course if the sound of what you're showing is important, then it's a different thing that we always then have to adapt. But if it is just the image, to avoid costs, you can just record like that too. But again, this is, like I said, if you have a phone that came with something like this, it makes a big difference already. Like,
You know, the situation that I'm thinking of is, you know, let's say some of the language program instructors or staff, you know, would have an appointment to record somebody outside showing a site. And, you know, you can have only that one time appointment made because you don't know what's going to happen on any other day. And you go out there and 25 to 30 mile an hour winds.
yeah.
And, you know, you only have that one time slot, you know, so I'm just thinking about preparations for that type of situation.
Yeah. And what I would do too in situations like that, that you only have one time, is if you have the chance to have, if, let's say you're using your phone, but the person you're interviewing, for example, maybe they have an extra phone. Maybe you can ask them to just plug their phone with this and just use most phones nowadays have what they call an app. It comes with an app to record voice. In the iPhone, it's called Voice Memo, and I know that most Androids also have, it already comes with it. You don't have even to download. So I would just ask, or if you can borrow another phone, if it's one-time opportunity, do whatever you can to just like plug this, ask the person just to leave like that or hold, because I think that if it's one-time opportunity, even if it doesn't look as good, it's more important the message, I guess. So I would ask to have the person recording on their phone as well what they're saying, and at the same time as you recording, just so you can make sure you have in two places.
You can experiment too by putting foam around the phone, you know, around the speaker part of the phone, and see if that works to alleviate some of the wind.
The wind, yeah. And I would do that. If you do that, I would just test it before, because in case the foam, depending on the foam, it might also not record well your voice. So I would just do some tests before. But yeah, like I'll show you, like I test with everything. Like the other day I needed a dolly and I didn't have a dolly. So I got my cutting board and I bought some like this wheels at the supermarket and one with a lock. And I had a dolly for my shot. And I mean, it's like, think, what I always say is like, think the ideal of what you want at first. And from there, you try to find the solutions first. And then you start cutting your dream out. Like, so like I said, I want to really to have this moving shot here the other day, and I didn't have a dolly. And we always think like, why don't you just walk with it? It does not work. It always gets too shaky, and when you try to watch, it does not work. I tried many times. So yeah, and
You could probably use it as a skateboard too.
Yes. I actually tried to find somebody with a skateboard to borrow it from, but I couldn't with the whole
if the mic is on your lapel, you can actually use a remote control car, and then you can tell it where to go.
Oh wow. Like,
put the mic, if the mic is on the person, then you won't get the noise from the car so much. So you can strap your phone to a remote control car, and then you can maneuver where the camera goes.
Oh wow, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, never thought. See, another thing, just learned. So yeah, so the only thing is that I always say is like, just test first if you can and have time, because especially if it's a one-shot thing. If you can do it many times, if you have the time to test, then just test, just do it. But if it's a one-time thing, try to test before. Just you make sure you have, so you have it. And yeah, another thing that it's like, it's practice. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable recording myself. I don't feel like, but if we, like, whenever I need to, it's like, try to record, like, even if it's a lesson that you thought you're never gonna need to put online, maybe, but you like, or you feel comfortable teaching that lesson more than another, maybe record that one just for yourself and just as practice, like, because then eventually it gets a little easier. I don't know. That's what I try to do. Does anybody here has been recording lessons or recording yourselves in right now just to give tips or something? No?
I guess they all need more practice.
I've did a lot of recordings in the past. You kind of covered most of it.
Okay.
Outside, like you said, you can just get those foams and put them over your mics and whatnot. Or you can actually buy them.
Yeah.
We might have a question for you. If someone wants to record a group of people in a room, and you know, today, if a group of people is going to get together in a room, they have to stay far apart. So what kind of microphone or microphones would you use for that? I mean, let's say half a dozen people spread out, you know, 6 feet apart. What do you think?
It's a good question. I would have to look into it, because at first I would say maybe like a directional mic, but if it's true, if everybody's apart, you might need to place more than one, maybe.
Okay.
In different, places. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Or depending how far you can place your mic too, and how, like, you're trying to capture all that they are saying too, or it's more about the ambient?
Like a discussion.
Okay.
Yep. So capture what they're saying too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's a hard one.
Yeah. Probably would need more than one. I think I would have to look if what it's used for that, but probably more than one. Probably, or coming from the top too could be an idea. It's placement a lot of the times.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, or?
I guess for a question for next week, you know, we talked about maybe having a similar topic next week because the invitation didn't go out to everybody. Is there enough content for a part 2 of this, or would it be better to move on to the next topic of actually getting started with your recording, or maybe that wasn't the topic, or beginning your editing, whatever you think is the next logical sequence in the process. So I guess I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking if people watch this video who didn't participate, they'll get all the content anyway. So maybe we don't need to record to redo this topic, or reoffer this workshop. And I guess I'm asking everybody that, not just you, Moima.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a question more for everyone. What do you think? Do you think that?
I think with it being recorded and put up on the Zoom page or the link page, that would be good enough for people to be able to watch. so we could move on to the next topic.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
agree.
You agree? Okay. And so what will be the next topic? So that's actually a Moema and everybody question.
I could get started with some ideas of softwares that can be used for editing, maybe.
That sounds good.
So because I was thinking of the sequence, like you start with the storyboard and then you film and then, you know, you edit and then all the uploading and sharing and how going over, if you put on YouTube, what happens with the rights of your film or video, if you know, like going over those details too. But
I have a question.
yeah.
You're probably going to get to it, but doing a lot of this, it takes up a lot of files. Are you going to mention how you can sometimes with different software save it in different different sizes so that it's not really big? Bad part is that when you show it on a big giant screen monitor or something, it may get pixelated because it was only set for maybe 2" by 2".
Oh, how you when you record the quality that you record in?
No, after you complete your project, right? You're all good to go.
Mm-hmm.
The software I've used will give me options to save it in different sizes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When we get into the editing, we're gonna mention that too. Yeah, because that's the part of the exporting process. Once you have everything edited, how you, depending of where you're gonna, which kind of platform or what you want to do with your video, if you want to, if it's just to go to, let's say YouTube, because you want to just a link that it's not going to use too much space, then you can use this size. Or if you want to send it to a film festival, you need to get a much bigger size because it's going to be in a big screen. If you want to just show on your phone, the screen's normally the biggest screens, you know, it all depends on, it all depends on what you want. And of course, the bigger the screen you want to show, the bigger the file, and the more space you're going to need to place all of the material. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know how important this is, and maybe you covered it in storyboarding, but terms like, you know, you needed a dolly, so like what kind of shots you have, close-ups, extreme close-ups, you know.
Yeah, I can cover that. I did not cover it before because I guess we were trying to just not get so caught up in technicalities of like that, like just like let's just film. But I could totally do that. I think it would be super cool to go over a few of the filmmaking terms if you are all up for that. I think it's a great thing.
I'm Moema. I have
Yes?
a question. Yeah, earlier you mentioned about interactive video.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that when I do a video, I can make it interactive, like my students can, you know, communicate with me using the video that I prepared?
Yes, but that's after. That's not why you're making your video. The thing is, for you to, you would have to think of how you want it to be interactive before you film, but you're not gonna make it interactive while you're filming. Meaning, if you want to say, oh, if you click here, this will happen, you have to know that you're going to do that before you film, because you're going to have to say that. But it's when you put it in another program that you're going to be able to then make it clickable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got it. So you have to mix the available technology. Like, okay, I'm going to do the video, they're going to watch it. And if I want it to be interactive, I have another platform that I can use where they can interact with that platform. Is that correct?
Yeah, that you can then then you place your video and then you're going to start making it interactive. Like, okay, now then you have to kind of re-edit your video with the interactive elements. But so that's why you have to think when you film, when you're preparing to film, you had to think of the moments you want it to be interactive, so you can do your performance or prepare your material that you're going to show or do.
Exactly.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I get it. So what I'm trying to ask is, there is no one interface that I can use to do it at the same time that they are watching the film. I need to mix it. Is that correct?
I will look into, we shared one, there is one program that I shared before. I will take a look if you could already edit through there, like edit at the same time as making interactive. Yeah,
I
will take a look.
Would be good. Yeah, that would be a good input during our editing topic next week, because that's one hard part for a teacher to do, the interactive part and the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will look at that software to see if you can do it all at once.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Moema? Okay, well, maybe we wind up then for today. Moema, thank you very much. Great treatment on the topic. And that was super, using that video and the Video Ant platform to go through that. That was super. That was really good, really helpful. So next week, same time, same web, same location, and we'll be talking Editing 101.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.